I don't necessarily foresee this video doing incredibly well because I ran a poll on the champion we're talking about today, which is Quintus the Triumphant, on my YouTube channel, and 85% of you guys said that you do not have Quintus yet, so this will be more of a showcase as opposed to a guide for a lot of people watching this, I suppose. And that being said, if you don't have Quintus and you're watching this video currently, well, thank you very much for the support. I very much appreciate it. As I mentioned in the last video as well, I am trying to get to 2K by the end of the year, so if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification, that would certainly help out a lot in hitting that goal. So this is Quintus, and for anyone who doesn't know, you need to get fairly high inside Gold 3 Live Arena, I believe it is. It's Gold 2 or Gold 3, in order to actually collect the champion fragments to be able to summon this fantastic looking dude. So I do know that there was also a little bit of disappointment about him because, of course, he's one of the rarest champions in the game currently, because not many people are able to get that high inside the live arena. It certainly is a grind, and then some of his skills were a bit disappointing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look for ourselves, and I will say this is my first ever time using Quintus. I recently booked him out and got my masteries done, so I have not tested this champion before. I've not seen what he's capable of. It's going to be a first time taking a look and seeing what he can do. I'm slightly familiar with his kit. Let's go ahead and take a look though. On core performance, A1, attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if the target has no buffs. If this attack is critical, repeats the attack once. Now, of course, if you have him built with 100% crit rate, it's always going to be critical because he does have Void Affinity. The only exception being, of course, if you're attacking somebody with Poison Cloud or somebody with Reaction and those sorts of things. So essentially, if they have no buffs, it's going to be a 2 times hitter, and then if he repeats that attack, it's going to be a 4 times hitter, which is pretty incredible. This does have a 1.9 times attack multiplier, so if they have no buffs, you're looking at about a 3.8 times attack multiplier, and then if he repeats it, you're looking at like almost an 8 times attack multiplier, which is pretty crazy to say the least. Strip Away A2 attacks one enemy, removes all buffs, then place a decreased defense on the target for 2 turns before attacking. These debuffs these effects cannot be resisted or blocked. Now this is where it was disappointing because a lot of people thought that this was going to be a counter to Stone Skin, and it just really isn't, because even though it says it cannot be resisted or blocked, Stone Skin is still going to have the 50-50 chance just to say, hey, I see what you're doing, but no, this isn't happening, right? So there's only a 50-50 chance that you get through that Stone Skin. I don't know if the Blessing interacts with it as well, the one that protects a buff strip, right? Because that is technically also blocking the buff. That might be something we get a chance to test out today. And then the second part is damage inflicted by this skill cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries except by the passive skills of bosses. Damage inflicted by this skill cannot be increased by either this champion's masteries or ally passive skills except when attacking bosses. And finally, resets the cooldown of the crowd favorite, so is A3 if this attack kills an enemy. So this is quite interesting. This particular skill does have a 5.5 times attack multiplier, which is certainly a very powerful skill, especially considering that he's placing an irresistible decreased defense first. It is a bit disappointing, of course, to see how many books he requires on this skill, right? So finally, we're getting on the crowd favorite. AoE places an increased attack and increased crit damage on this champion for 3 turns before attacking. Resets the cooldown of the Strip Away skill if this attack kills an enemy. So essentially, he can just keep cycling between his A2 and his A3 as long as he's killing people, which is pretty strong. This is on a 4-turn cooldown, and this is going to have a 3.8 times attack multiplier. So in all honesty, against tanky teams inside the arena, you're probably not killing anybody anyways. Percussion, which is his passive. Each of this champion's skills deal additional pure damage. Now, pure damage is one of the strongest damage forms that you can have in the game because it ignores defense, right? So the amount of pure damage dealt is equal to 10% of the target's max HP. For each buff on them, the additional pure damage dealt will ignore shield buffs. So if we think about, somebody in the arena or something like that, he's going to do essentially 50% max HP damage to them as well as pure damage, and that's on top of his regular damage dealing ability. And this certainly does sound like a very strong champion. Let's go ahead and see how we have him built. We do have him in a 5-star crit damage amulet, so he is missing a little bit of crit damage there, of course. We have him inside an attack banner and an attack ring. And then, as always, for my showcases, I've brought over my son Wukong gear, so we can do the nice little showcase of him there wearing that kit. In terms of masteries, we've done fairly basic PvP masteries, coming down to Helm Smasher, Methodical, And then we get the counterattack masteries as well, so nothing too crazy. As always, let's go ahead, let's hop straight into Dragon 20, and let's see what this guy is capable of. I am always a fan of going ahead and testing Void champions on this stage, because it just means I don't have to worry about affinity or anything like that. Of course, for blessings, what I would recommend as well is Phantom Touch, unless you have him fully awakened. If you have him fully awakened, you could essentially run him inside something like Brimstone, for example, if you're using him in mainly PvE content like Hydra, or you could run him in, of course, Crushing Ren, depending on where you're using him. And then finally, of course, you could also run Soul Reap if you're using him in the arena and those sorts of things. Let's go ahead and let's see the damage that this guy is capable of. I don't think I actually showed you true stats either, so we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at his stats real quick. First, these are the stats here. So 6100 attack, 271 speed, 101 and 244 on the crit rate and crit damage respectively, and then only 141 accuracy because he did excuse me, does not require accuracy for what he does. Now let's go ahead and let's do that damage test now that I actually showed you how he's built. So we're going to go ahead and run in here. We got the increased attack coming in. We got the decreased defense and weaken. We got, you know, decreased speeds and all those sorts of good things coming in here. Everybody is void on this team except Eostrid, and she's strong affinity, so we're definitely not, you know, missing our debuffs. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the A1 first. So these champions are all going to have no active buffs, which means that he is going to repeat that attack. He's going to hit the second time because they have no active buffs, and then he's going to repeat the attack because it will be critical. So let's go ahead, let's attack the Apothecary and see what's possible. Boom, boom, boom. We're doing about 60k average, so we did about 50, so that's about a 200k hit on the A1 there when they have no active buffs. That is actually pretty damn strong. He's certainly capable of some decent damage, it would appear. We're going to go ahead and we're going to test that A2 next, I think, the one that places the decreased defense and all those sorts of good things. Let's go ahead and hit into probably the Horde in here and see what we get for damage. Boom! We're doing about 175k, which is actually pretty strong. Definitely a little bit lower than I expected to see, though, in all honesty, for an attack multiplier that strong. We're going to go ahead, we're going to throw up our buffs and debuffs and all those sorts of things, and then we're going to go ahead and test the A3 finally as well. So let's go ahead and get everything thrown out here. Now, his A3 is the one that does the AoE attack with the increased crit damage as well. So let's go ahead and see what this is capable of. And boom! He's doing about 184, 146 there on some of the champions. He does, of course, reset the cooldown on his A2 as well because he did kill somebody there. Not sure what's going on there exactly, but Rhonda decided to join us on the screen, apparently. Excuse me. Let's go ahead. Let's start running him inside the live arena here, or not the live arena, rather the classic arena, just since this is where I think a lot of people are going to end up using him. So we'll run him against the speed team first. Hopefully we're able to outspeed them here. Let's go ahead and do something like this, and then let's bring in our Arbiter as well, right there. Now I am actually thinking about switching my Eostrid and my Arbiter builds, just because Eostrid will have higher speed in that case, although she will lose a lot of accuracy, which should be a bit disappointing. We're going to go ahead and A3 here. I almost A2'd by mistake, so we're going to drop everybody's turn meter, decrease the speed, all those sorts of good things. Now we should be able to essentially just do the AoE here and take everybody out. There it is. Boom! Doing about 174 to the Prince Kaimar was the highest damage there. I am curious to see how this champion will perform against a tankier team as well. So as you can probably deduce there, I was actually running this champion against I was doing my Talia showcase right before I actually brought this champion in as well, so I'm kind of recording them back to back. And because of that, I bring that up because she essentially struggled to go ahead and do damage against tankier teams, right? Just because their multipliers didn't really facilitate it. So I'm kind of curious to see how he can perform here. Now, of course, we do have Crixia coming in for the lockout, and hopefully the buff strip as well there, which we do get, which is quite nice. Now, with all these extra turns, we might have the Odin put it up, but he doesn't. So let's go ahead. Let's hit the AoE here and just see what we're capable of. So boom, that is quite nice. We do get a reaction proc on the UDK there, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm happy I didn't go in with a single target damage because he would have essentially just ate that. So let's go ahead. Let's just do this. That is a very low resistance UDK, all things considered, if my Crixia is able to place debuffs on him, because she's certainly not built for very high accuracy or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and see if we can take out the UDK now. We also get a reaction proc once again. That is very annoying. Let's go ahead and try this team. I think he still did like 25k there, even through reaction, which is pretty strong, all things considered. For anybody who might not be familiar, reaction is essentially just going to take your critical hit and change it to a normal hit instead. And then you can kind of see like a little shield appear around them when you get that activation of it. So it is a very strong accessory set for sure. We did get reaction there, unfortunately. This will be a good case to test, though, if he's able to strip off that stone skin. He doesn't. So again, even though his A2 says that it cannot be resisted, it cannot be blocked, you can see that it very clearly can be resisted or blocked, depending on how you want to categorize that, I suppose, right? So Stone Skin overrides his A2. This champion would probably be a meta-defining champion if his A2 was not overridden by Stone Skin, because being able to just strip it off like that would be so strong, right? We'd definitely see a lot more use of him in places like Live Arena and whatnot. And again, we get the Stone Skin just blocking the effect, which is so annoying. So Crixie is not able to take it off, and then he's not able to get through it either. This is insane, and you can kind of see why the champion is disappointing, I guess, right? So a lot of players were kind of hoping that he would be that counter that we were all hoping for or waiting for. And again, she doesn't take off the Stone Skin, so he's probably not going to either. But let's see here. Excuse me. Once again, there we go. We finally got it, but we got a reaction proc on top, so that UDK is very annoying. Let's go ahead and try to find a different team here. That is insane. So let's try against another tanky team if we can. Let's go ahead and try a team like this. The reason I'm curious about this is because he has the kind of pretext in his kit where it says it cannot be decreased by enemy masteries or passives. And of course, Taurus does have the passive where he reduces all incoming damage by 50%, which is pretty insane. So in his A2 here, of course, he does have it, so it cannot be decreased by enemy passives or masteries, passive skills. So let's go ahead, let's hit into the Taurus and see what we're capable of. Boom! We just wipe him off the map with 123k, which is actually pretty damn good. I certainly won't lie about that. That is a very impressive hit, and it's very nice to be able to see Taurus just absolutely sat down there as well. That is quite nice. Now, let's go ahead. Let's do our A3 here, see if we can get some skills reset. Boom! We do take out with 76k to the Thor there, which is quite nice. We don't take out the Odin, though, which is a bit of a shame. We're going to go ahead. We're going to do our block debuffs and our increased resistance. We do take out the Odin with Earstrid there. And then we did, of course, reset the A2 since we killed Thor with the AoE. So, boom! We're going to go ahead and take out the Sifi there for 123k as well. Now, if I could find her, it'd be very cool to test this against somebody like a Harima, but we don't see too many Harimas. There we go, actually. So we'll go ahead and test this against the Harima. I'm very interested to see how the A2 performs against her. Of course, it is going to get eaten by the UDK, which is a bit of a shame. But Harima essentially has a skill where she is, or a passive rather, where she decreases the ignore defense effects by all of your champions by 50%. So she can really cut down the damage that's being done by somebody like a Wukong or a Rotos or those sorts of champions. So let's see what he's capable of here against the UDK. 95k just straight in. We get the irresistible block, or rather decreased defense there as well, which is quite nice. We do, of course, get the resurrection from Galathier, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is, I suppose. And then we should have the AoE available here as well. And then we're already back to a one-turn cooldown because we did have the mastery proc there too. So let's go ahead and hit that AoE. We should kill the UDK here, or possibly the Crixia. We take out basically everybody, so it's just Galathier left. That is insane. He's actually doing pretty damn good damage. Excuse me. I'm a little impressed. I know it can be very different testing, obviously, damages in PvE versus PvP, just because PvE, the champions tend to have a lot higher resistances and defenses and those sorts of things as opposed to what's possible inside PvP. So let's go ahead, let's see if we can take out the Galathier here. Boom! Galathier does have that annoying skill where he can keep himself alive, so that's most likely what we've seen there. As we can see, though, he is a very significant counter to somebody like a Harima, which is actually pretty impressive, because I do sometimes struggle against Harima inside the live arena. Now let's go ahead and try another team like this. This is an incredibly tanky team. So we have the Helicath, who's going to try and put up a block damage. We have the Siegfried, who is essentially able to, or Sigmund, whatever his name is, that's able to come in and revive everybody. And then, of course, we do have the Harima, who is decreasing our ignore defense effects there as well. So we're going to come in with the A2 here, I think, on Helicath, just absolutely take him out, which is quite nice. We did have a decreased attack there as well, and we still managed to take him out, which is quite incredible. We're going to go ahead and we're going to sleep him there, and then also proc his passive, which is quite nice. So essentially, we can just take him out now. We don't need to worry too much, and boom, just wipe that team off the map. Now, this is, of course, a level 81 player with 4.84 million player power, so that's not necessarily the strongest team that we're going to be running against, but let's go ahead and try a team like this. Now, I absolutely love what they've done with this player info screen. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on it, because I think it looks so cool. It's so nice to be able to just go ahead and, you know, check the player power of the players that you're fighting inside the arena, or those sorts of things. Absolutely love it. The Sifi's faster than us there, annoyingly. We are still going to have to go ahead and try for the lockout here, even though we are frozen. So we're going to go ahead. This is annoying. This is very annoying. We are not going to be able to take on that team with this current build, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and let's try something a little bit different here. We are going to have to bring in our Ancora, essentially just to eat the buffs, or rather the debuffs that come in from the Tormund there instead. So let's go ahead and try that. I should have enough resistance on my Crixia that she doesn't get frozen. So we're going to go ahead and try to boost with the Arbiter. We're going to go ahead and increase cooldowns. We're going to go ahead and boost turn meter, as well as put a shield on our team there as well. With this, we really have to do the A2 because 8th AoE, I don't think we're really going to kill anyone. They're not low or anything like that. We certainly can try it, though, so let's go ahead and just see what's capable. Yeah, we don't kill anyone, unfortunately. We do get our counterattack, though, coming in from him, because the Tormund... Oh, that was a big hit. The Tormund essentially placed a freeze on somebody, so we got the counterattack mastery to proc there. Excuse me. We're going to go ahead. We're going to try this team one more time. We're going to have to try the A2 and see if we can't strip off the UDK there first. Excuse me. Jeez, sorry about that. Now, of course, what is nice about this is you don't need accuracy on him, so it is going to come down to a 50-50 whether or not that stone skin gets removed. It's not an accuracy check first, which is quite nice. We do hit him there. We do 67k to him, but that's unfortunately not enough to kill the champion, so the UDK does stay alive. Now, we do also get a decrease attack on us, so I think we're going to go ahead and metamorph with our Crixia and then do a cleanse and reset. And then let's go ahead and do a boost and a shield. Crixia gets frozen there, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and hit that UDK one more time. Boom! There we go. Another 76k, and we were actually managing to take him down that time. Go ahead and buff up with the Crixia here as well. Now, I do hope that the Harima does not target our Quintus, and she doesn't, which is pretty fantastic. So we'll go ahead, increase attack on everybody. Go ahead and just attack the Tormund there. Why not? Let's go ahead. Let's try our AoE here now. Boom. We don't kill anybody again, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame, but we do get everybody pretty low. I'm curious if we can actually beat this team. Now, if... that UDK just did 34k to our Quintus, which is pretty insane. So we have a bit of a nuke build on that UDK there as well. As you can see, going to struggle a little bit more against some of the better champions in the game, especially a 6-star Awakened Sifi there, right? So take it with a grain of salt. If you have this guy on your team, he certainly can do some work, but I don't think he's going to be as good as some other damage dealers we have in the game, specifically something like a Wukong or those sorts of things. That being said, though, as well, one of these days I'm going to summon my Freya. I did work very hard, of course, to get her, so I'm interested to see how she'll pair with some of my damage-dealing champions, like, for example, Quintus or Wukong or those sorts of things. So once I pull her, I'll probably be making a guide on that. As always, though, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.